Good morning. Welcome to Hope Westside's online service. My name is Amy.
My name is Kevin.
And this is our daughter, Kalea. We're so glad that you could join us today. For everyone watching, and especially if you're new, we'd love to connect with you right after service in our virtual lobby. You can find the link in the description below.
If you are new, you'll also find our connection form in the description. Please take a few seconds and fill that out so we can get to know you. Lastly, if you'd like to give tithes and offerings, you can do so through hopewestside.org, Chase QuickPay, or Venmo. You can find those links below as well. Next up, we have worship and a message from our pastor.
Lord, I come and I confess, bowing here, I find my rest. Without you, I fall apart, 'cause you're the one that guides my heart. So Lord, I need you. So Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. See where sin runs deep, where sin runs deep. Your grace is more, grace is found, is where you are, see where you are, where you are. Lord, I am free, holiness is Christ in me. Sing, Lord, Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, you're my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. So teach my song to rise to you. When temptation comes my way, when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. So teach my song to rise to you. When temptation comes my way, when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. 'Cause Jesus, you're my hope and stay. So we sing, Lord, how we need you. So Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need wine out of me. Oh, Jesus, bring new wine out of me. 'Cause where there is new wine, there is new power, there is new freedom, and the kingdom is here. I lay down my old flames to carry your new fire today. Yes, God, so make me your vessel. Make me an offering. Make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing. All you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Sing Jesus. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. King Jesus. Jesus, bring new wine out of me.
mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, there's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. Oh, there's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me.
So now is the time we pray together as Christ taught his disciples.
Our Father, who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Hey Hope Westside, this is Mike. Thanks so much for joining us for our online service. We're continuing our series today for Eastertide called Rooted Through the Psalms. And last week we looked at Psalm 13, a psalm of lament. And the words from that psalm, "How long, O Lord," have resounded in me so deeply this week. This week I've heard stories of communities and families that have lost loved ones to the virus. And we continue to hear more stories of sickness and death. This week we've heard accounts of racial violence and injustice. And our only words can be, "How long, O Lord?" Our only response can be lament. Because again, lament allows us to mourn and to grieve with those who suffer. Lament allows us to feel the anger and outrage that comes with those who cry out for injustice. And lament allows us to direct those cries to God because we know that we don't just fight or war against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. Lament allows us to sit in this and sit in this before God. And I don't know about you, but when I do this, I feel small and I feel limited. I feel helpless and I feel overwhelmed. I don't know how to carry the weight of the world in my hands when it's hard enough to carry the burdens and the expectations of my own life. I just feel overwhelmed. Well, today I want us to look at Psalm 121, and I'm calling it for today a psalm for the overwhelmed. Let me read it for us. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. This is probably one of the most lyrical psalms, and for good reason, because it's part of a collection of psalms known as the Songs of Ascent. And these were the songs that were sung by those who were making a pilgrimage towards Jerusalem. So these pilgrims would sing these songs as they headed towards Jerusalem, and they would sing them together as confessions and songs of worship. They would sing these songs together to remind each other about who they are and about who God is and about the world that they live in. And so when they sang this song, they would say to each other, where does your help come from? Your help comes from God. Look your eyes upwards towards the mountains. He who watches over you will not sleep or slumber. He won't let you come to harm. It was a message that they can trust that and have confidence in that together. And as I think about that, I think about the power of journeying with others together. The power of being with others, singing these same songs, worshiping together, reminding one another of the truth of who God is and that we can trust in Him. And I think that's such an important thing, but also a difficult thing, because we're in a time right now where we can't be together. We're not able to join together on Sundays like today and worship together. We're not able to meet in homes or coffee shops or in parks or just walking along a busy street together. Yes, we can call one another and text one another and we can video chat. And I don't know about you, but I'm on more Zoom calls than I ever thought I would be. But we can't be together. And it's hard. And it feels so much easier in this time to just be alone, to do things on our own, to rely on ourselves, to be self-reliant and self-sufficient, but also to suffer alone, to be helpless alone, to be overwhelmed alone. And as long as we have Netflix and as long as we have enough food in the pantry, as long as we can make it through the day, then we can say that we're going to be okay. But we're still helpless and we're still overwhelmed. But I don't think that's what we're meant to do. We're not meant to do that alone. We're not meant to journey through life by ourselves, suffering in silence. Because when we read this psalm, it's not a solitary psalm that we read by ourselves. It's meant to be sung together in community. It's meant to be sung with others, saying, where does our help come from? We don't just have to rely on ourselves. We don't just have to have it all together. We can be reliant and dependent on God together. We're constantly overwhelmed and we're constantly under-resourced, but we do that together in prayer. Prayer is a recognition of our limitations, our weaknesses, and our utter dependence on God. And it's powerful when we're able to do that together. Because I think about so many instances where I know I do it and I know that people around me do it. We just tend to suffer in silence. When I was in elementary school, my family took a trip to Korea and we stayed at my uncle's house. And my uncle had a home where you actually had to heat up water on the stove and then take it to the bathroom, and that's how you would wash up. And my sister at 9 years old somehow got into her head that she needed to go through that process by herself and do it all by herself. So she boiled the water on the stove and carried this heavy basin of water the long trek to the bathroom. But halfway there, the water was too hot and the basin was too heavy, and it ended up spilling all over her arms and her legs. And she came to us after I don't know how long with these burns on her arms and her legs, just weeping and crying in pain. Again, I look back and I can't believe that she tried to do that on her own. I can't believe that she would carry that weight by herself. I can't believe that she would try to do that by herself. And I can't believe that she sat there suffering in silence for I don't know how long. It's not the way that we're meant to live life. But yet so many of us are tempted to journey through life that way. So there are two things that the psalm teaches us. First is this, is that where does your help come from? You look towards God. Your help comes from him. Look your eyes up. Remember that you can have confidence in the one who watches over you, who does not sleep nor slumber. He will not let harm befall you as you journey through life. But the second thing the psalm teaches us is that we sing these songs together, that we don't journey alone, that we journey with others. And as we ask and cry out to help, as we bring our overwhelmedness before God, that we do so in community. So here's my question for you. Who are you journeying with? And again, I know it's hard right now. I know it's hard for us to be together. But there are ways that we can connect with one another. We can call and text and video chat and we can reach out so that someone knows what we're going through and that we know what they're going through. That we can journey together. That we cry out together. That we sing these songs together. So it's my encouragement for you today. Sing this song with a community. Sing this song together. So right now we're going to go into a conversation that I had with my wife, Jeannie, about the Psalms. I hope you enjoy it. So since it's Mother's Day, I thought it'd be great to have a conversation with a mom. And my favorite mom that I know is my wife, Jeannie, who is a mom of 2 little kids, our girls, Jordan and Sophie. Jeannie, thank you for joining me in our living room.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
So, I wanted to have a conversation about the Psalms, and particularly for you as a working mom, 2 little kids. We're together here in the apartment all day, every day. So how has this been for you, and particularly how have you connected with the Psalms?
Yeah, I would say, I feel like that's still to be determined in terms of what the Psalms mean to me right now in this time. I will say, I remember the first week of homeschooling Jordan, which was 2 months ago-ish, I want to say, I think I cried 4 times that whole week. I cried in front of my manager, and it was just everything was just kind of unraveling, it felt like, and just full-time job, kids, cooking, everything, and laundry. And so that week I ended up, for some reason, going and opening up Psalms 1. And to be honest, I feel like Psalms, it pops up in my life in very purposeful ways, I feel like. And so Psalms 1, it talks about the plant that's by the streams of living water or something. And I think going through this series of being rooted is good for me, because I feel like I'm the complete opposite of rooted right now. I feel like I am everywhere but nowhere. And I just don't feel like I'm rooted. And even Jordan's school curriculum is about plants and seeds. So I feel like there's definitely a theme that's going on here for me, in terms of what is rooted for me, for Jeannie, in this time, because I don't feel rooted at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I shared in our message last week about your experience with insomnia. 13 years ago, it was almost 2 years that you went through that experience. Can you share a little bit more? And I know you said that the Psalms were really important to you during that time.
So I had chronic insomnia for the worst of it lasted for 2 years, but I would say there were still ripple effects even over the course of the last 13 years. I would still have episodes, but the worst of it took up about 2 years. And it's complete torture to only sleep maybe a handful of hours in a whole week, in one given week. And I had just moved to a new city. I had just started a new job when this started happening. I don't honestly even know how or why it started happening, even to this day, but I just started to not sleep and went to a bunch of sleep clinics, did a bunch of overnight sleep studies where they like put tubes down your throat and wires on your head. I tried maybe 9 different types of pretty strong medications, did acupuncture. Work was really hard. I almost got fired from my job because of this, because I was put on like those performance development plans because I was non-functioning basically. And so somehow, some way, I started reading the Psalms. I don't know how I started, but I started reading, and I ended up reading through it a couple times during those 2 years. And I mean, David actually, there's a lot of references to sleep in the Psalms. I'm assuming David was also an insomniac, having, talking the way that he talks about sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like the stress of what he was going through. But for me, I think I started to realize that I couldn't control something as basic to me as sleep. Right. And that was jarring to not be able to just close my eyes and go to sleep. And realizing that I didn't control anything in my life. But that's the way I was living my life. And I think through that, I started to realize, like, man, I am so broken in that way, feeling like I could do everything,
right,
and not acknowledge the actual person who was controlling everything. And so, I think from that, the depth of the brokenness, and I will say it was an experience of my brokenness. It was like all 5 senses experience of my brokenness. But I think from there, the message of the gospel met that. And I got it for the first time. I got the gospel for the first time in my life. I had accepted Christ in like 3rd grade, and I was a Christian for like 20 some odd years before then. But being 27-ish, I got the gospel I experienced it. Wow. Like personally experienced it for the first time. And then since then, it gave me the lens. It gave me a lens that I don't always have on. Yeah. But it gave me a lens that I'm able to put on for the rest of my life, right, till today.
So since then, I mean, what have you learned from the Psalms?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I took away in the Psalms, but just inside that whole experience was the degree of honesty that is in the Psalms, like the degree of honesty that David has in the Psalms.
Yeah.
I will say that I was extremely honest with God during that time. I mean, there were nights when I was just railing against God. Like, just to take this away, to just give me sleep. Like, how dare you? Like, what's your problem? And just unfiltered, completely unfiltered prayers. And I think what I kind of learned from that was the prayers that are honest, the ones that are unfiltered. That's sort of, God wants to see that, And I remember the way that I prayed before then was like, I would remember thinking, like, I would be praying, but I would be thinking in my head, like, this prayer is kind of boring, or I feel like I feel like I'm just saying the same things over again, or I would feel pressured to like pray for every single person in my life who didn't know God. And so I think in that experience of the Psalms and seeing how David prays in the Psalms, it helped me like relieve some of that stress that I put on myself before. And so I feel like my prayers changed afterwards, where I would start to pray. I would pray the side commentary that I used to have in my head, I guess, out loud to God. And I would just pray for one person, you know, and that's okay. And I think all these rules that I made up in my own head, I'd start to just let go. And I think there's something where for me, that I realized, you know, I can pray to him as if he's a real person, because he is a real person.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, babe.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. Thank you.
So this is a great place for us to end. We're going to go into worship right now. And so we're going to pray together on the other side.
Mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. Sing all my life, and all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I love your voice. You have led me through the fire and darkest nights. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, oh, and I have lived in the goodness of God. Sing all my life, and all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. We sing that again. Sing all my life, and all my life you have been faithful. Yes, God. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Sing your goodness. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running fall. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. Of your goodness.
So wherever you are today, I hope that you could turn your eyes to God and look to Him in whatever you're facing. And for all the moms and spiritual moms and all the women out there, happy Mother's Day. And I know that a day like today is filled with mixed emotions, and we're living in a time of mixed emotions. But I pray throughout all of this that you would experience the peace and the grace of God. So let me close this time with this benediction for you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face towards you and give you peace. Have a great week.
Thanks for joining our online service. We would love to connect with you and to keep you updated through social media. So you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
If you'd like to give, there are many ways to do so. You can find all the information in the description below. If you're new, we would love to get to know you. So please stick around for our virtual lobby right after service. The links are below. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday.